I'm Dr. Vanita Rattan. I'm a doctor, but I'm also a cosmetic formulator specifically for skin of color. So you can follow me on Instagram at Skincare by Dr. V or Dr. Vanita Rattan, also on TikTok, Dr. Vanita Rattan too. So today's video is something that we don't talk about enough, and it's about premature skin aging and how the environment contributes. We do talk a lot about UV and sunscreen, we talk a lot about cancer, but we don't talk about all the assaults that basically take place on our skin from the environment constantly and what we can do to protect ourselves. I think as I myself age, I'm 37 now, I'm turning 38, and as I age myself, I pay more attention to my skin than I did even in my 20s. And doing so means that you start to become aware of other stresses on the skin, not just am I wearing my moisturiser and sunscreen and I'm done. So I wanted to share with you the information that I know and that has helped me. So if that sounds good to you, give me a thumbs up. Let's dive right in. So your skin is under constant assault from the environment, and it leads to a very specific type of stress on the body called oxidative stress. This is the same stress that happens to an apple that's been cut and is now turned brown. This browning is called oxidation, and it basically means when you have unstable molecules that have lost an electron and are now very unstable and they are freaking out. All these molecules want to do is to steal an electron from another molecule in order to stabilize itself. That's all it wants to do, is to become stable. So this epidemic happens where this molecule now steal an electron from another molecule. Now that molecule is unstable and is freaking out. So guess what that does? It tries to steal another electron from another molecule. And now you just have lots of free radicals. It's an overload of free radicals that basically damages cells. Now, this overload of free radicals is called oxidative stress. Now, not all free radicals are equal. Some are far worse than others. There are three main categories that we look at. Now, the worst free radical of all three is ROS. This stands for reactive oxygen species, and it can come from UV, from the oxygen around you, from stress, or from smoking. It also is worse in cities, so when you're surrounded by pollution. And this is one thing that I want to hammer home, is if you live in a city or you spend many hours in a city, then you really need to pay attention to free radicals and using antioxidants. I'll talk about antioxidants towards the end of this video, but actually you are more likely to age faster than if you spend all your time away from pollution and smoke. So reactive oxygen species have three main effects on the skin. Number one, they damage DNA in the skin. Number two, they affect the moisture barrier of the skin, which means skin can feel dry and sensitive. And number three, it can attack collagen and elastin, which can make the skin sag and feel less supple. This can all lead to pigmentation, wrinkles, and the texture of the skin can feel rough and bumpy. One thing I get asked a lot about is how do I improve the texture of skin? Often we mentally go straight to, oh, is it fungal acne? Is it post-scarring acne? But it can also be damage from oxidative stress. The second form of species is reactive carbonyl species, and this is more from things that we ingest, and it happens to be all the things that I love. So it'll be sugar, simple carbohydrates, alcohol. This basically leads to something called glycation. Glycation is when a covalent bond, i.e. a permanent bond, forms between sugar and protein. Now guess what that means? Elastin, which is your protein, becomes hard, rigid, and again, you lose that elasticity, that bounce back that happens with your skin. So your skin feels less supple, you have more wrinkles. So again, aging. Lastly, we have reactive nitrogen species, and this tends to happen from soil, from fumes, and also from woods. So what do you do? What do you do with all these free radicals? How do you protect your skin? You must be wearing antioxidants. Antioxidants I would recommend from 21 years old onwards. The reason I say that is that from 21, we start to produce 1% less collagen every single year. This affects your skin, your hair, your nails, and you start to see it probably from your late 30s onwards or after pregnancy, depending on, if or when you have children. Often you will see a decline. Your hair, there'll be massive hair loss that happens, and the skin ages rapidly. And this tends to happen late 30s, early 40s. So actually, I would say to our next generation, to our children, to make sure from 20 years old onwards, 21 years old onwards, they are protecting their skin from free radicals. And that is going to help them keep their supple skin for much longer. Now, there are classic mistakes that get made with antioxidants and antioxidant serums. Number one, you need to remember these are unstable molecules themselves, and so they oxidize quickly in oxygen. So you want to purchase antioxidants in an airless pump so you know no oxygen is around the product. Number two, you want to use these antioxidants in combination because they stabilize each other. That's essential. There's no point in buying an antioxidant serum with just one antioxidant ingredient in it. There's no test for you to see whether or not a product has stopped working or not. And so that's important for your own peace of mind and also for you not to waste money. So I'm now going to go through my favorite antioxidants for you. Let's start off with vitamin A. Vitamin A is just the one that we all really need. You can start off with retinol palmitate. If you're using it as a daily product, I love retinol palmitate. It is the weakest form of vitamin A, but it's also the least irritating for a daily product. That's the one that I would wear, and I do wear daily. The other one I like is encapsulated retinol. I don't mind you wearing encapsulated retinol every day, because otherwise it can be a little bit too irritating to use retinol every day. It is an alcohol after all. The other one I love to use every day is retinaldehyde. So retinaldehyde is more effective than retinol, but with no irritation. It just happens to be extremely expensive. So for example, I would put retinaldehyde into one of my kits, but I wouldn't put it into, a cheap daily range that you're trying to create because it's just far too expensive. So for example, in the facial pigmentation kit, I would put retinaldehyde in because it's an expensive kit and you can afford to do it for this. So you will see it reflected in the price. With vitamin A as well, I would say please do save it for nighttime because it can sensitize the skin, especially to UV. And don't forget, with skin of color, our melanocytes are large. Those are cells that produce the pigment melanin, and they are easily triggered. We want to minimize any inflammation because we do not want to pigment. As you know, one scratch, one bite, or one burn, and we hyperpigment, so we have to be more careful. Now with vitamin C, I tend to prefer derivatives over pure ascorbic acid. The reason is pure ascorbic acid has a low pH, it's actually an exfoliator, and it is quite irritating to the skin. And as you know, with skin of color, my number one goal is to ensure minimum irritation but maximum efficacy. So my favorite vitamin C's that I recommend for skin of color would be tetrahexyldecylascorbate, my favorite, that I create my own power antioxidant serum for my own face, and I use tetrahexyldecylascorbate because it's fat soluble, gets into the dermis and helps stimulate collagen, and at my age I can use all the help I can get. So I do that. The other ones I love are sodium ascorbate phosphate, which is water soluble and tends to work on the epidermis. I also love 3-O-ethyl ascorbate, the reason being that it has a high conversion actually to ascorbic acid without irritating the skin, so I'm a big fan of that one. With vitamin C derivatives, I'm happy for you to wear those during the day because they don't lead to irritation. With pure ascorbic acid, I just wouldn't recommend it because I would never, on skin of color, put something that's going to irritate the skin and then go out into environmental assault all day long. It just doesn't make any sense. The third antioxidant that I love that we really all should be wearing already is niacinamide. So niacinamide has multiple benefits without really irritating the skin, especially at that 2 to 5% usage. So it basically controls sebum levels, which is great for acne. It's good for hyperpigmentation because it prevents transfer of pigment from the melanocyte to the surrounding skin cells. It is also good for anti-aging. because it's anti-inflammatory and helps to protect and improve the skin barrier. I personally use niacinamide in my face wash, my toner, and in my Cera-Pep. The other antioxidant that I love is resveratrol. The Ordinary does a really good one, although it's not in an airless pump, so I'm hoping they'll improve the packaging on that one. But resveratrol is a very powerful antioxidant and non-irritating, which is perfect for skin of color. Moving on to the most common antioxidant used in the world, and that's vitamin E. You will basically find it in the vast majority of your skincare. Oddly enough, it's actually the one that is most likely to lead to an allergic reaction, so that's interesting. But you know, even that's rare, so I don't tend to flag that as much, but it's a good one to use in combination with other antioxidants. The other one is obviously coenzyme Q10. We produce less of this as we age, so actually it's important to topically apply it, especially after 30 years old. Coenzyme Q10 also stimulates collagen. So when I made my Power Antioxidant Serum, which I'll show you right now, I basically put it into an airless pump, and in it I put retinol palmitate, tetrahexyl decaloscorbate. I used coenzyme Q10 and vitamin E. So I basically used 4 antioxidants in combination in an airless pump, and just because it didn't exist, and so I made it for my own face. I know a lot of you ask me what my skincare routine is, but as you know, because I literally have my own laboratory, I make my own daily range for my own face. But I'm working very hard because you have asked me to release it to you, so I'm working hard to get that done as fast as I can. Everything's come back from testing, so you have to do safety testing on everything, and you get your CPSR as a special report on each product. So that's all come back and we've passed everything, and so actually I'm hoping maybe in time for Christmas I can launch my own daily range that I made for my own face, so that I can spread the love and hopefully do it at, you know, the lowest possible prices, which I know a lot of you have said that a lot of my kits are expensive, and you're right, they are, because we use, you know, 8 to 10 actives in each product, which is expensive. It's probably the reason why nobody else has done it, because it's such an expensive project, you know. But with the daily range, we don't need to be using, you know, 8 to 10 tyrosinase inhibitors on a daily basis, you know, especially if you're not treating specific melasma, but you're trying to anti-age in a non-irritating way. So that's basically something that I'm hoping I'll have ready for you for December. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that in the future, but yes, I thought I'd just let you know now that you know, I can't keep anything to myself. So if there are other products you want me to make for you that don't exist right now, can you write them down below for me and I will make them for you? If it's a product that already exists, then I'm happy to just, you know, point you in the right direction. But, you know, I really do take my cue from you. If you are struggling with something, or you don't think there's enough variety for skin of color in a specific field, that is something I will 100% address, because I feel like this has become really my new calling, is to make sure that we've been served with everything that we need. I just think that some of the big manufacturers, it's not that they don't want to serve the skin of color community at all. I just think that sometimes they're large corporations and it's difficult for them to move quickly. And I'm just in a very fortunate position where I get instant feedback from you, and I have my own lab and everything moves very quickly for me. And so I want to make sure that I'm giving you what you need and what you want. So please do write down below if there's anything. It can be hair, nails, skin, and for any age group that you really wish existed for you, and I will definitely look into it. If it already exists, I'm just going to make a video and point you to, you know, what there is for you already. Don't forget to download your free guide for skincare for skin of color. Link is down below, and don't forget to follow me on all our socials. Thank you. Bye.